improvements to the city. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Juan, and one of the MIT Activator learning designers and facilitators. And with my team, we've been working together, supporting the innovators to bring the ideas to the city. To kickstart this event, we would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, the traditional owners of the land on which the university stands and where we stand at this moment. We respectfully recognize elders past, present, and future. Some housekeepings for the ones that are here face-to-face. Please maintain social distances, so we have allocated you in some seats, so please keep there. Practice high-level hand hygiene, so we got some stations that you can use it. Stay at allocated place, and please follow staff directives if it's needed. For the people, we're gonna have some hybrid pitches, so please bear with us. So we start testing this hybrid board, people face-to-face and online, so we might have some issues, but we are here learning as you guys are. So please be with us. We're gonna try to make as smooth possible this process. For the ones for the virtual, please mute yourself. We'll let you know when it's the time to pitch. And yeah, please, we might let you share your screen. So you can share your screen and just live if you have some slides to share. And for the ones here, the emergency exits are to the left, to the back. If anything happens, that's the emergency exit. And bathrooms are to the left. All right, get excited. I need some energy here. Come on, guys. Woo! All right, let's do this. Okay, so before we do that, we want to introduce the panel. We have an amazing panel. We got Martin Lewis from the MIT University, so she will be with us. And we also had all these mentors, all these amazing people that are helping these innovators to bring the city back. So we had a lot of people here to support. We had a lot of questions. We want to help you pitches. We want to shape those pitches so we get ready for submitting to the Open Innovation Competition. So we're gonna start, the format is gonna be like, we're gonna do between 3 or 5 minutes speech. Once we do this speech, we're gonna have like a 2 minutes, 3 minutes question. So this amazing panel is gonna be asking questions. So please use these questions in a way to get feedback and shape those ideas. So when you submit it to the Open Innovation Competition, you have like a very good idea that can get all the chances to get to the next stage, apply it, and then help the city to recover. So a big applause for this amazing panel. Thank you so much. Because we are in a hybrid world, we have some of the panel here in the face-to-face, and we also have Marty Lewis, who is online. So she's going to be our online judge or panel as well. So she will be joining us online, and she will be sending us the questions, so the pitches can have like this both experience, virtual, and we have like the face-to-face. All right. All right, let's go for the first pitch. Hey, woo! Go. And let me just kick you. Perfect.
You want to sit here? Oh, yeah. I'm just asking my teammate to come. Oh, yeah. Hello. Is it working? Awesome. Yeah, let me start. Okay. Oh, slides. Yes. Okay. And let me see. Wait. Yes. Yeah.
Let's go with, all right, guys, we're working this every board together, so please bear with us. But let's start first with Kyle.
Yeah.
All right. We can make it, yeah. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to say thank you for taking your time to come today. I'm very excited. Melbourne's a great city. I lived in London for quite some time and relocated back here about 7 years ago. While I was in the UK, I actually invented and created what I call brushboarding, which is a surfing and snowboarding simulator, patented it in countries, major cities all around the world. Due to personal reasons, I had to shelve the business and the concept few years ago, but I did launch it into this great city November 2019. As you know, that's just before the pandemic, and any product like this into a pandemic is not a great idea. So that's pretty much me. You know, this product is about engaging, fitness, health, bringing people back to together. If you search the internet, you'll see many photos and videos of people connecting, fathers, sons, daughters, grandparents, grandchildren, all enjoying a fitness, fun activity. Which leads me to where I thought I'd just present here for Melbourne today. My idea, reconnecting, revisiting. Melbourne is a city of sports. One thing I see that could potentially bring a lot of people to the city is interactive fitness attractions. So not your fairground rides. These are actually getting people active and fit through fun. So as a start, my presentation would be that we would use my product for obvious reasons as a first to trial it somewhere in the city, but then not limit that to other activities. So for instance, I went to see play the other day in Parliament House. I walked up the stairs with my wife and my son, and I thought, this is really good activity, right? So we're going to potentially change those stairs into musical stairs, which is some of the other really cool tech that we've seen. I've also got other people in my network who have interactive walls. So bouncing balls off a wall, kids, adults, parents all have fun. When the ball hits a wall, it explodes. And I'd like to see Melbourne have that, not just as a one-off, but actually a continuous. So we drive traffic from all over the city to actually have fun, but engage in fitness as well. So my name's Kyle Dent. I'm here to rejuvenate Melbourne. Thank you very much for your time.
So now
would you like any questions? Sorry.
No worries. There you go. I got to you.
Hi, Kyle. Thank you for your presentation. That was great. I'm Tegan. I'm from the City of Melbourne, so I'm on the panel, the faces before. I can see inherently that your product has a lot to offer, but I think my comment, I guess, is more about, do you have any statistics around playable cities and the kind of benefits and the need? Because I can see it being something fun, but why this over something else? Why this at all? Like, I know that it's a fun idea. I've bought into it, but that's because I like these types of things. So how are you going to convince people? So I'd like to see, us, I guess, can you quantify the opportunity or the problem? I think that would really stand you in good stead to have this kind of successfully go through the process.
Yeah, so there's a lot of data. One thing I've learned over the last few days is there's a lot of people collecting a lot of data all over the city. I was on the call the other day when the lady in New York shared a lot of statistical information about her city. So personally, I don't have the data to back up why fitness and fun should be coming into the city. I don't think it's been done before, so I couldn't quantify that, but it's definitely something I'll look into. Thank you. Other questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. My name is Hussam. I'm also one of the panel here. My first question is about what is your business model behind that? Do you want to just sell the equipment to the city of Melbourne and you will use it, or do you want to be the activity manager?
Great question. Thank you very much. So currently we manufacture our product in the UK, in Europe. Over the pandemic, because I launched this Melbourne Exhibition and Conference Centre 2019, and then pretty much stopped me dead in my tracks, it's given me a chance to actually look into manufacturing in different countries. We can actually manufacture it here in Australia and export it to other countries in a cost-effective way. So my business model is to actually create manufacturing jobs, manufacture the product here in Australia, and then export it. We have two models: sell it to activity centres, sports clubs, councils, squash courts that aren't being used, track the riders, bring them to a location where they can compete against each other. the secondary business model, as you can see with the Mountain Dew and the Sumo brands, is that we'd like to do a tour. So a global company actually coming on board and taking us to events across Australia, Outback, Ayers Rock, or the Roo, sorry, etc. is our secondary business model.
Okay, great, thank you. Can I ask another
Absolutely,
question?
please.
Is regarding your target market. So a product like this would be great in a city like Dubai, for example, because anyway, the sea there doesn't really help surfing. But here in Melbourne, you know, it is a surfing city. And I don't know if you can actually compete, if I would say this way, by an artificial device. However, I can see this as a training platform for those who want to learn surfing, you know, or in the time where it is not possible, then you can make it indoors, for example, away from the sea. So did you think, who is your target market here?
Yeah, of course, that's a great question. Did you read my business plan? So actually, the city folk who are short of time, they want to have fun. I'm talking to a couple of people today that, you know, they're snowboarders and would love to actually get to the snow, but they just don't have time, or it's actually being reduced because of global warming. The actual sessions are less. So this is just a fun alternative. It's never going to replace going down a mountain on a board or paddling out in 4-foot clean surf. That's not my intention, not why I designed and created this product. So our target market, as you can see from the photos and our test in the UK, it's father-son engagements, it's hens parties, it's little girls. On the bottom left-hand corner here was at Melbourne Exhibition and Conference Centre. It's an engaging product and pretty much targets masses.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, let's go now with your mind. Wait a second. All right, let's go with the next pitch. Yes, it's you. Hey, welcome. Woo.
It's on. It's on.
It's on.
And we
It's
just
on.
get one slide, do we?
Oh, you had
No,
3 slides,
no.
so let me.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome.
Wuminjika Banjalaka Yanamana, which is my language for welcome to the land of Bunjil, who is the great spirit for the whole state. My little mini presentation is actually about how we bring digital technologies and open innovation to a language that spans over 40,000 years and reinvigorate the role of First Nation people coming back to the city. So most of our families, I'll just move on here. So basically we revive oral living cultural customs through teaching Aboriginal people to speak language. By doing that, we're inevitably teaching people about their ceremonies, their food production, their kinship ties, and so we're actually talking about their whole story, on whether it's Kulin Nation, Gunditjmara, Northwest Kulin Nation up in the northwest of the state, East Kulin Nation going down into Gippsland, all the other small languages around it. I've spent 7 years of my life researching where digital technology and innovation meets an oral history. And I've spent time developing, I'm not sure if it's an app or a website, which is why I'm here. But what I found out in this research is that all of our families come back to Melbourne. I'm a Torres Strait Islander, and my family members came here to search for other Torres Strait Islanders. When Melbourne was built, at the exhibition building, the original bricks are from Corranderk, an Aboriginal mission. They were made by Aboriginal men. The very first Melbourne Cup, the first rider was Aboriginal. And so we continually have a role in the city. But unfortunately, in the last 20 years, Aboriginal people are taking off from the city. So just yesterday, it came to me again. I ran into 2 elders that are doing a course through RMIT on a block release, and they're lost, and wish they weren't here. And so I think that there's a real opportunity to link in with the stories of Melbourne in terms of how it fits into First Nation. In the 7 years that I've been doing this research, the biggest issues are around fear and lack of trust due to the historical and ongoing impacts, loss of information, loss of their story. I'm not going to go into it because I think we're all a bit aware of some of the atrocities that have been committed. So, where are we at today? We have a small organisation, we have 7 years of research, we have 38 languages, 6 are critically rare that can never be revived. The ABS data of 2016 and the amended version in 2018 stated that Victorian Aboriginal people, the ability to speak language, and that's partially, is under 1%. So we're doing face-to-face learning, but there's also a need now for the younger generations to have a more innovative platform for learning. How did we get that happening? Is we started working with a small social enterprise here in the city, Curate Space, to bring our mob back. We started to get elders and young people through the door, and then they started to see the beauty and want to experience Melbourne again. So it's really, really challenging for us to do that. And so we believe that there's a real place for digital technology. There's a real place for open innovation. We have one national website, Miramar, but unfortunately there's no capacity building opportunities for the First Nation people. So they go in there, they upload their story, they lose control and management of it. It belongs to Miramar. That has to stop. So I'm looking for advice and guidance as to whether this is an app, a tourism, eco-cultural, tourism-based app. We have 4,194 traditional place names in this state. So our research took us to the point where we have added stories in language, and you can translate it into Australian English. So when you travel across Victoria, like Gary word comes up, Dagunwarang comes up, all of these other words for our place names and for our languages. But the biggest gap is that we connect with the city and no one's here. All our big regional programs and agencies are moving back out to the country. So my question to the City of Melbourne is, why is this happening, and how can we work together to move to the other side? I know that the panel is going to raise questions of political affiliations, cultural protocols, permissions, yada, yada, yada. And yeah, I won't talk to that because it's not relevant in this space. The information around the place names are all public access information. 7 years of research has included 7 years of consultation, working with 38 languages. And the only thing they all seem to have in common is that everything comes back to Naam, which is a Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri word for the bay. We played Aboriginal traditional sport that you call AFL. We played it at the MCG, where people gather today to buy food and different products from the Victoria market. There is intangible cultural heritage evidence and archaeological evidence that we gathered there as well. So we're everywhere. And I think that, you know, we need to be talking about the potential and the opportunity. So I sit here after 7 years of investment. I moved away from local government and corporate and decided to walk a culturally ethical lifestyle. So of course I'm broadcast and have nothing. But my big thing is, what is our cultural legacy here? I was trying to beat Chloe here. Chloe went up that way, I came around this way. I ran into the same elders. So I've got Auntie Jan Muir's number so I can make sure she can get back on the train to Shepparton because she's lost already. So if they're 10 years behind in any type of digital technology on average, and they're politically separated, and their families are still broken, how do we reinvigorate their presence in the city? And there's a huge political, I guess, chasm as to where Boonwurrung people have their country and Wurundjeri have their country. We're in Wurundjeri land. But I think if we walked down Swanson Street, crossed over where the council building is, you'd be in Boonwurrung. It's that close. So I'm here to actually, I've already have Curate Space, an ideal venue for our mob. We can get them back to Naam. Not sure what to do with them after that and to keep them involved in digital technologies. Even today I've had my auntie Hazel McDonald, our chairperson, you know, don't share anything with them. Don't say nothing. You don't know where it's going to go. So there's this whole fear and mistrust from our elders to you, mob, about how we can actually work. So we want to have someone have a chat with us about, is this a website? Is it an interactive website? Is it an app? Is it something completely different? What is it? We don't know. We've done the 7 years. We've had the research dollars. We've got all the data. And this is where we sit today. Did I get that in 5 minutes?
Oh no, it was more, but thank you for sharing. Like,
I raced you.
Thank you for sharing. Questions?
Questions. Okay.
We have time for one question.
Hi.
I can shout if you want. I'm Darren from the Common Purpose Collective. It was a really nice presentation, and I really liked the opening slide with the elevator pitch at the front. A quick question. Do you see yourself or the opportunity to be almost a wayfinding service or a storytelling and content curation service?
Maybe a bit of both. Maybe a bit of both, because it's an oral history. All the traditions are oral. It involves a lot of storytelling, but it's limited by itself. But I actually think this 21st century open innovation will actually create a synergy back with oral living cultural customs. So we're all there. We're not exactly sure. We've run out of brains. We've run out of money. Corona's just put everything back, but we're really at that point where we don't know where to take this. We've had the consultation and approval from elders from both Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri, given it's the land of Naarm. We've got all the permissions and approvals from the other 36 language groups through their elders. So they're coming back to us. Where's it going, Julie? We haven't heard anything, Julie. What are we doing about this? They're very excited that one day they might own their own language, control their own language destiny. So I'm sorry I can't actually answer that succinctly because we're in a bit of at the end of our journey, like with what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right, we got the next speech. Please give applause. Woo! Yeah.
Hi, thank you very much. Do I need that? Beautiful. Okay, right. My name's Catherine Cunningham. I am from Earthworker. And last time I was at RMIT, I had a Bachelor of Business in Entrepreneurship, which was great fun. I had a grand time. Except no one whispered the word worker cooperative, which I think we need to change. Not that one. Which button do I push? Oh, that one. Okay, so hopefully people have heard about the donut economics and how the next chapter of humanity in relationship with this planet through the incredible thing that we have called business and work needs to become different. Yeah, whether that's the 20th century or 2020, the value we extract from everybody and everything is how much we can earn from rather than how much we can benefit from. How much can the earth benefit from? Purpose, governance, network, ownership and finance. When we think of worker cooperatives, and actually a quick question, does everyone know what a worker cooperative is? Just quickly, a worker cooperative is held in the same Cooperative Act and a Corporation Act are two legal parliament documents telling us these are the vessels, the legal vessels that we can do business within. A cooperative, a worker-owned cooperative just means that the people who do the work own the work. Yeah? Whereas the corporation says the people who do the work is owned by the corporation and the people who own the corporation. So that's a fundamental difference between the two things. So as you can see, ownership and finance, the thing that the worker cooperative flips, is capital serves the labour. Labour doesn't serve the capital. So this is what my proposal is. We need to build worker-owned cooperative business incubators. We don't have one in Australia. We don't have one in Melbourne. I'm pretty sure there's not very many of them in the world, if any at all. Business incubators, we know, work. Business incubators are fantastic to make a business real and help people who want to build things. But to build a worker-owned cooperative, this business incubator needs to be specifically designed for worker-owned cooperatives because they do business differently, yeah? One of the things we need to do is I'd love to have a go at the Cert 4 in small business management and just put it through a cooperative lens. Because when a group of people who are building a worker cooperative learn small business management together, they learn how to read the PLL together, the profit and loss statement together. Because if you have one person in worker co-op who knows how to write it, how to read it, then everyone lets them do it. But in actual fact, that's not how worker co-ops work. They are a practice of democracy inside a worker co-op, and they need to know together. So learning in a worker co-op is actually learning together. And a business incubator, which is a huge amount of learning that happens in an incubator for businesses, all the different ways and things and incredible tech that's available, but put it in the context of that. We learnt a lot during COVID about what money is worth and what work is worth and what's essential about either of them. Right now, as we build the next version of humanity, the next version of business, the next version of money even, we've got an opportunity to really make a difference. So this is what I perceive, a business incubator for worker co-ops. So I'd love to build even, the cooperative board games, which is a new version of board games that are out there in the world, and they're amazing things, like a group of 5 people, not trying to beat each other, they're working together to win, yeah? And that, like, pandemic, I don't know if anyone stopped playing that last year, but having a games night, a co-op games night once a week, having a space to learn in together, to come, to do the work together, then go out and do your work, but then also have the home to come back to keep sharing what you're learning. So having pitch nights for ideas, pitch nights, so people looking for people, having space that we build and we build together so that we can build a new future.
Thank you. All right, questions?
Cool, thank you.
We have some time for some questions. Oh, sorry. Please, this one? All right.
Cool. Any questions?
We got a question there. Let me go back to you. Just give me a second.
Have you considered your people in the cooperative Zooming with each other about their ideas and not just the content but the process?
So at the moment, another member of Earthworker and I built a 10-week course, starting a worker co-op, which we delivered last year in Zooms, and we're delivering again this semester, this term in Zoom. The problem, Zoom is a great tool to be used, but it's not the same as people being in the same room and working together and brainstorming together. And you can see Em's work over there on those 2 whiteboards. There's an amazing amount of work that can be done in the same room when you're sharing together. So yes, Zoom is a tool we would use, but it's not a substitute for an incubator. Thanks, Daniel.
So this is from our wonderful panellist, Marty Louise, who has joined us online.
Nice.
Just given the audio she sent through her question on chat. So she said, thank you very much for a passionate presentation. My question is, how will you distinguish your incubator from others from the perspective from the user? How will they know what the difference is from others, and why should it be attractive to them?
Well, I think people who want to enter into business in a collective way are different from people who want to enter into business for self-serving ways. It's a really different intent, yeah? And to me, the staff that would be running it would, if they're not actually doing work of helping it, they would be doing the work of promoting worker co-ops and explaining what they are. We don't have any reflection of worker cooperatives in any of our TV sitcoms, our films, nothing. We have no reflection whatsoever of what a worker co-op is. So to learn about them and to learn how amazing they are and what's possible with them it's a new thing, yeah? Definitely Donut Economics, she does speak to them, and it's great there. That's a beginning place. But I think, in actual fact, which is really interesting, because worker co-ops are across the globe, and we were doing them in this country 70, 80 years ago. Masses of Australian people were involved in worker co-ops. But then there was a systematic dismantling, yeah, and they're all gone now. We've got like 16, 17 worker co-ops fully in this country, in this, actual worker-owned ones.
Just to build on that, have you got some examples of kind of...
So there's a great one in Sydney called This Cooperative Life that builds, that delivers in-house aged and disability care. So that's a really powerful, important expression of worker co-op. People who do the work own the work. So care work shouldn't be done by corporations. It's illegal for them to care. In the Corporation Act, their only purpose is profit. So if their only purpose is profit, they should be nowhere near human caring, whether it's childcare, aged care or disability care. Whereas a worker-owned cooperative, people who are, yes, they're getting paid to do their job. Everyone needs to earn a living to pay their rent. But if they own the work, they know they can do the work to the best of their ability in that moment with that human, because that's, you know, that's what they're built for. So this Cooperative Life, incredible business. I'm hoping to work with them. Earthworkers hoping to work with them to help build, spread across into Victoria and Melbourne, because the independently managed teams that it's possible. They're a national organisation, so we want to help. And we'd like to be the interface between the union movement and building those worker co-ops, because that, I mean, this is the evolution of union, really.
I think we're going to wrap up there. Okay. Thank you so much.
No.
Yes. Oh. Okay, go for it.
I just wanted to know, you know, we have it's been done before. We've had crowdfunding for different startups, you know, like DC Power Co. had the largest crowdfunding for their startup energy company. Would you see this as kind of, and they all become shareholders if they're successful. So would you see this as the same thing? Would you be looking for, like, say we had a bunch of really socially minded investors who were interested in incubating these businesses? Would it be that kind of same investment model?
Well, no, because a co-op is, I mean, maybe in the actual incubator, but the co-op itself, co-ops are run, and I mean, Earthworker...
Yeah, I understand that, but just like the incubation period, like how are you going to get...
space?
Yeah.
Who knows how this will actually come about? Like, it would be great to see, and great to see a state, a local, and many-pronged support for it, and a whole bunch of different ways to enable all of the groups that arrive, yeah? Because there's so many different aspects and applications of the worker co-op. Thank you very much for your question, though. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Okay. Goodness. Let's get the right slide. Going back. We're just updating the slides. Here with me, okay, we're just updating the slides, so just give me a minute. We're navigating with this Ivrit's word. There we go.
It's perfect.
Perfect. And let me see if I can present. It's not this one. Sorry, just carry on with me. No, I don't want to be played from beginning.
What about the bottom right?
Which one? This one here?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's why we're having a collaborative network. Woo! There you go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Smithan. I'm currently pursuing my master's in data science from RMIT. I came to Melbourne in Feb last year. That was right before the lockdown. Lockdown was very hard for me, and I'm sure it was for you as well. But it was more hard for business owners. However, it differed from business owners to business owners. Large corporations actually went on to make profit while small retailers perished. My question was, how did they manage to do that? It wasn't just the economies of scale that was helping them. It was because they were able to make better decisions about their product. They were able to sell their product faster, able to engage their customers, and able to identify when to sell the right product. So I started wondering, why couldn't the small retailers do the same thing and go about having a better lifestyle? After all, there are a lot of players in the market. Players like Xero and Salesforce. However, they were not giving the answers. So I started working in a retail store myself. I reached out to my friends and family to gain a better understanding. And this was the finding. It was not worth the money. It was complicated. But something that really stuck with us was need something smarter. In this era of smart devices, where you can feed your dog even when you're not at home, the computer in your retail store is obsolete. We wanted to understand this a bit more, so we went on Google reviews to find out what the small business owners are talking about. And this was our finding. Large corporations do not keep small retailers in mind when they're planning a generalized product. They just want to create a generalized product so that they can maximize their profitability. So where does the small retailer go? Who looks after them? And this question is what led to us creating Rensights. Rensights will help small business owners make better, faster, and smarter decisions regarding their corporations. Now I'm going to pass on to Soumya, who's going to talk about the next slide.
Hi everyone, my name is Soumya, and I want you to think for a moment, just imagine that you yourself own a retail business, and I want you to think about the problems that you might face. Let's say that, okay, my slides are a little out of place, but what I want you to imagine is that you walk into your office, you walk into your store every morning, and you look at your screen, and you find that it's filled with lots of information which is hard to perceive, and you need to work really, really, really hard to find out what is your actionable step for the day. If you try to focus your attention on the screen to what's on the front, I know it's a little difficult, but then this is something from what we call Rensights. If you look at the top left, you'll find that we have a daily target tracker, which shows you what your target for the day is and how much of it you've already achieved. On the top right-hand side is where all the magic happens. This is where you're told what you need to do today. So here, you're going to get recommendations on what product you need to focus on to sell today, how much of it, what quantity you need to sell today, and how you need to price it based on the current sellability, how people are purchasing at the moment, and also which customers you need to inform about the sales, the drop in the prices, and how long you need to keep your sales running. But this is just about today. You also need to plan for the weeks coming ahead. And for that, we have something called the market trend, the top customer profile, and the stock status. From these, you can actually find out what is trending from social media. So maybe you can keep your store trendy using those insights. You can have a look at who your top customers are, what they want, so you can stock more of the items of their choice. And finally, under stock status, you can figure out how much of the stock is actually available for you and how much more of it you need to order. So all in all, this is telling you every single step that you need to take today and tomorrow. We actually did some research and found that the global ERP software is estimated to increase to $78 billion in 2026. We feel that's a very, very big space. And given that COVID has happened and businesses are a lot more tech savvy than they were before, we feel like this is the right time to empower businesses and business owners with Rensights. And we feel that we need to, before we make an actual product, we feel like we need to develop a prototype which we can test further on. For that, we need $10,000 and 18 months of time. And we need some mentors who are subject matter experts in retail who can help us turn this into a reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was great. We can now take in some questions for the panel. Any questions? There we go.
I can shout.
We just need the audience.
No problem.
There you go.
Thank you. I'm Darren from the Common Purpose Collective. Really nice presentation and well delivered, and I really enjoyed how you focused on the problem that you're solving. It seems that you're playing in the area of predictive analytics and creating more dynamic and responsive relationships between small retailers and customers. It's very dependent on access to those good data sources. How will you go about providing that service to those small businesses who may not know how to play in that space?
You want to answer?
Oh, very good question. So actually in Australia, we saw that most of the small retailers actually use a computer. They actually use a small ERP system to feed in their data. So it's not something that they're completely new to. They've already been doing it. They usually use it for accounting purposes, but that software does not really help them to make any predictive analytics. So it's not going to be a new thing to have a computer that they can store their details in. It's just that if they have a better software which helps them actually help further, I think in general we feel that the data is already with the companies or the retailers on themselves, and they'll be able to sort of make use of that.
Thank you so much. Okay, we got another question. Just go around.
Hi, Phil from 25/8. Well done for your presentation. Just looking at your ask at the end, why 10,000 and also why the 18 months? Because it's either not a lot of money and a long period of time or vice versa. So what was your thinking about what you'd use that for and why an 18-month research period?
Thank you. This is something actually in which we had to put in a lot of thought. We do understand that $10,000 is a small amount, but what we're trying to focus on at this time is simply developing a prototype. And what justifies the 18 months for us is that since this is highly and heavily data dependent, we feel that you need a lot of data which can be collected only over a long period of time so you can make better predictions. And that's why we feel you need a few months to actually monitor how the sales are going, which you can eventually use to make predictions. Do you want to add something to it?
Well, can I just build on that? Say I said, I think it's a great idea. I'm just saying me, but someone. And you said, I can do it in, what can you do in 6 months? How would you, because I think, there's a need now. There's, businesses are really struggling now. So how can you accelerate that and build a prototype where you could justify that there is a need and then actually start to get something out there that's going to have that impact? Is it feasible to bring that timeline in?
Perfect. Actually, one of the reasons was 18 months is initially we had planned a lot more features into it. When we submitted for the prototype, we actually wanted to keep it 6 months. And within 6 months, I think that the only thing that will not be possible in the features that we showed is the social media part, because that actually requires you to have connectivity between multiple stores. So apart from that, everything is dependent on one store. So if one store has their own data, they'll be able to access all the features. So within 6 months, our prototype can have everything that we already showed, except for the social media part, because that'll be dependent on multiple stores.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Good applause. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we're getting in the mood. Thank you so much for that pitch and for the questions as well. All right, now we get to the next. Bear with me. We're just updating the slides, so we already saw that. We had, see this one, amazing ideas. Done. Done, yes. Jasmine. Yay! Yay! Woo! Yes. Let me just set the scene.
Juggle, but it might be a bit difficult.
Do you want to use this one?
Would this be okay if I just stood right on the edge of the stage?
Perfect. Like this.
Everyone, is that all right? I'm Jasmine. I'm studying a Master of Social Impact. My background's in behavioural sciences, so that people just really fascinate me and interest me. So I'll just dive straight into my pitch now. COVID has impacted the way that we live, the way we work and play and connect in Melbourne. I mean, I'm kind of stealing that off the City of Melbourne website, but it is true. Our city's seen some major changes. We've lost our tourism, we've lost people going into study at the universities. So my sister's at RMIT, she hasn't been there once this year. And we're also seeing people opting to work at home where they can or to have more flexible working conditions. So it's no surprise then that the CBD is taking a major economic hit. But what does this mean for the people who live and work and play and connect? What does that mean for us? And that's my question to you. What has changed for you, and how has COVID impacted the way that you experience the city? And when was the last time that you just came in simply to explore? We and the world knows Melbourne as a vibrant hub of foodies, arts, culture, drinks, street arts, buskers, and that's not gone, it's just been muted. And we know that nighttime pedestrian traffic in the city has decreased by 50 to 60%, than pre-COVID levels. So that's huge. We know that 1/3 of businesses are really struggling or have shut down as a result of COVID. We've always relied on young people to bring the vibrancy for us. There have been some major shifts in the way that young people are now engaging in the city or at all. And so I've spent the last couple of weeks kind of talking and interviewing my friends and family and experts here. And I've learnt that COVID has pretty much taught us that we can live within our 5K bubble. We can exercise, we can work, we can socialise, we can drink, we can go to the pub, and we can all do that in that 5K radius. We have no reason to come into the city. We go to those places because they're local, they're what we know, it's where we feel comfortable. So why would we come into the city? What will it take us to leave this bubble that we've created? We need experiences that will properly entertain us, experiences that are worth it, experiences that are new and experiences that we won't find anywhere else. Experiences that can only be found in Melbourne and experiences that are uniquely Melbourne. So when I was travelling, people would ask me, what do I like about Melbourne? And I would say it's a really good place to live. It's not necessarily a place to travel, but it's definitely a place you can be. But what if I was a traveller? What if we became tourists in our own city? What if we had an app that generates a randomised, unique bar crawl that leads you to pockets of the city that you've never been to before, the dive bars that you never knew existed, the hot pot joint that you can have dumplings with quail eggs in, or the 24-hour artist studio that you can go and do pottery when you've had a couple? You can monetize this app a number of ways. You can scale it to be focused on different kinds of city experiences. You can do it with architecture, retailers, or have a bar crawl designed by a local celebrity. You can scale it to cities worldwide. It's not just limited to Melbourne. But for us, right now, it can help us build the vibrancy that we're so craving. It can pull foot traffic to the smaller streets that have dropped significantly. It can bring people new, fresh experiences and help the places that have struggled throughout the pandemic to build a strong, loyal customer base and to pull people out of hiding and beyond their 5K. To do this, we need this project to be invested in. We need the resources to help discover what this app looks like and where it can go. We want Melbourne to be welcoming. We want Melbourne to be a place you go to, not because you need something, but because you want to be there, because it feels good, because it's new and it's unique.
Amazing. And no slides. Perfect. All right. Questions for the panel?
Second. Hello. Yep. So another one from Marty Louise. Thanks for a great presentation, Jasmine. You address a really important issue, the future of cities. I like your idea and will most likely use it myself. You briefly spoke about monetization. I'm curious to hear more about that and if you've modeled any numbers.
No. So I've been really stuck in the research and really understanding my audience and who this would be useful for. So this is a very rough idea and just a not even a prototype at this point. So no.
And then I just got one more from Eugene. Perhaps you don't know this either, but maybe you've given it some thought. How does the app know where you've been before? How does it know perhaps that something is new?
I am no techie person, but I would assume that there would be some sort of data in it that it knows it can read, like where you've been in the past. I think at the start, you're just going to have to risk it. People may already know it, in which case this app probably isn't for them. It's probably not for people that know every cool place. I'm not one of those people, but so it works for me and it works for my friends. Yeah.
I don't know the places either, so well done. Oh, we got one more question.
Hi, thanks for that. My name is Adelaide and I'm from the University of Melbourne. I just had a question around so app development, as we all know, takes a lot of money and a lot of resources, and especially, as you said, you're not a techie. Is there in your plan something that sits before the app, like some sort of prototype? Do you have an idea what that could look like?
Yeah, I'm seriously so beginner in this process. Yeah, I even experimented. I'm not sure if an app is the right thing. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not even sure that an app necessarily is the right way to access it. I just pulled that together for this pitch. So yeah, I'm practicing and learning, so I don't have an answer to that.
All right.
Oh yeah, no, that's great. Thanks. It's just something to think about, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
you. A lot of research. Thank you so much. Amazing. Well done. All right. Now we got the next pitch. I think this pitch is online. All right. Let me see if we have. Are we ready for the online pitch?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, just give me a second so we can see you. You're getting our amazing. Do you have any slides or you just want to talk? Do you? All right. Can you let me just stop sharing my screen. And then let me know if you can share your screen. Oh, we had the slides. Wait, we had the slides. Just give me a second. Perfect. And yes. All right. Let me know when you want me to change the slide for you.
Yep. So, hello everyone. My pitch today is about our story. Let us empower people to tell us their stories. COVID has taught us many things in the past year. Before COVID, if I talked about Melbourne, I talked about coffee, the architecture, the arts, sports. But if COVID has taught us anything, Melbourne is about her people, about our culture and the blend of people who make up Melbourne. It's easy to be excited about AI and IoT, but let's face it, what are they without the people? So next slide, please. Who am I? I'm Runa. I migrated to Melbourne from Fiji and have been here for more than 20 years. I feel like a real Melburnian. I love the city. Despite being culturally diverse, people ask me for directions, so they know that I'm a real Melburnian. So my interest is to find out who are the other Melburnians who come to the city or use the city and who used to come to the city and don't come anymore. So we know for a fact that Melbourne has the biggest Greek population outside of Greece. Melbourne is also home to the biggest Indian population in Australia. So next slide, please. So I've just gone through the different varieties of people that make up Melbourne, the students, the local residents, volunteers who come to volunteer at soup kitchens, lower income and homeless, sport attendants. Next slide. Music, arts, multicultural film festivals, RMIT and Melbourne Uni students, people seeking to re-educate, social dining, fine dining, patients at Royal Melbourne and Royal Women's, frontline staff, nerds, geeks, bookworms. Next slide, please. So what I want to show here is that, Melbourne is not just office workers. Next slide. I have been an office worker for the past 20 years, and I think the city needs to expand its reach from targeting office workers to a larger group of people who have a larger variety of needs. Big corporates will spend less money on dinners and conferences now that a lot of people are not based in the city, or they come to the city only a few times a week. So if you revive the people, you revive the city. We need to look at the diversity of people. I'm not just an office worker, but also a global citizen. I love the arts, I love sports, I'm a mom, I need to entertain my kids. So let's look at people's diverse roles. So next slide, please. Few of my insights from my time in Melbourne. One is none of my office worker friends have returned to the city. I have gone to the city just to have a look and enjoy the environment. But none of them have come back to work. My hypothesis too is people are tired of using the word pivot. So what I'm trying to do here is to show the number of the insights I've had by attending Melbourne Knowledge Week and my time in Melbourne. Why are they tired of using the word pivot? So re-education and lifelong learning will become important in the next 10 years. What can Melbourne do to allow people to re-educate? What do they need? Libraries provide free resources, including digital access. How many people are actually aware of this? Hypothesis 3. Last time I went to a famous restaurant in Melbourne, Crossways, I found they only charge $3 for dal soup. Can lower income people afford this? Do they have this information? Can community groups use this information? And hypothesis 4 is that some people do want to spend money, but they want to spend money on experiences. They just don't want to do the same thing over and over again. Hypothesis 5 is tech is more important now. What can we do to bring the tech aficionados to the city? One of my ideas is to have airport type seats where they can sit down and charge the device or access Wi-Fi. Next slide, please. So my solution for this and the variety of problems that Melbourne Knowledge Week has been talking about over the past week is to create multiple surveys targeting specific demographics. You have to ask them both quantitative and qualitative questions by asking for feedback. It also provides us ability to create word bubbles. We can use QR codes to spread codes and have them in a few different areas around the city, as well as advertising the surveys on social media and websites. One of the important things in the future will be lack of digital access. So what about the people who don't have a voice? So let's try and have this survey available in places like libraries or church groups where they can get people to participate in this kind of survey. We need to be open to all kinds of feedback and use these surveys to drive continuous development, continuous feedback loop, and continuous community engagement. We do live in an agile world at the moment, and I am in love with Melbourne's concept of open data, but I think we need to expand the definition of open data. Last slide, please.
30 seconds.
Yep, and desirability is high because open data has taken off like a rocket during COVID. It's highly feasible, it's very easy to do via SurveyMonkey, and it's viable because it's very cheap and will provide a lot of ways to improve and allow community groups to empower themselves and create conversations. And just like to thank Melbourne Knowledge Week and RMIT Activator for educating us this week. Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Ooh. Well done. A great experience having this hybrid world, like having the speech digital and having the speech face-to-face. It's a really, really unique experience, especially after COVID. So well done, and thank you so much, Rona, for that experience. All right, now open to the panel. Do we have questions? No questions. Just to let you guys know, Rona was very active participant to the Rapid Open Innovation Sprint. So we came up with all these tools to unlock what is needed for Melbourne. So thank you so much for showing us all those great insights, the hypotheses. They really shows really how we care about the city and what opportunities are out there that we can unlock and build these opportunities. So thank you so much, Rona, for that. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we move to the next person. Hello.
Okay, double whammy tech. Hello. Just before we hit the timer, I'm going to give a trigger warning to my content of my workshop. Why? Because if you don't know, some of the content I bring up might emotionally affect somebody. And I feel like just to remind us all that if you need to take a break, do that. And, you know, one of the biggest things I do in all of my workshops as a facilitator, health advocate, activist, is to just say, everyone repeat after me, I'm allowed. And that just allows everything to be here, if that makes sense. Cool? So here we go. I started asking around if you were to think of the health and well-being spaces and places that give you social connection in the city, what would you think of? And I started getting answers like the park and what else? I'd go hiking, but most likely I'd probably do that out of Melbourne, but I'd still like to walk around my city. Other people were saying things like yoga, meditation. People saying maybe Fed Square. That was like, as I quote one of our interviews, congregating spaces. But what I kept finding all the way through this was a real need for social connection at a time where we're lacking it, we've been isolated. And maybe the best way to describe the ultimate social connection I found in this city was to describe an event that I was a part of building from scratch, much like what I'm showing you today, was the Make Poverty History concerts. Anyone heard of them? So this was like 15,000 people, my music bowl. The aim was that we could be the generation to end extreme poverty. I was 25 years at the time with an idea that we could fulfill this sort of social movement. Young people could lead it. We could get Bono and Pearl Jam and all these Australian artists. And you can imagine all the adults were like, yeah, sure you will. But we did it. And in fact, it became a household name, the Make Poverty History campaign. It was young people who believed that we could naively make a change. The campaign went on to now be run continuously by Global Citizen, which is now $16 billion in infrastructure. It changed from a concert that was run in Melbourne 10 years ago. Why I bring it up is the city was alive. It was vibrant, this event. It had all the organisations under international development there promoting it all through their communities across the country, especially Victoria. Somehow, there was no social media, but we got 11 million reach in our country because of it. So the beautiful thing that I want to maybe talk about today is I think when I was standing there feeling this experience of the musicians, the artists, I felt social connection. And I did. I remember one of the co-creators standing next to me going, we couldn't have done this without you, Em. And I was like, yeah, I know. But that came because here's what I found, and what I want to talk to you about today is this epidemic of mental health. The individuals that I've worked with since then, and I've worked with 500,000 Australians, I've run 15,000 workshops across a huge diversity of people. Like every intersectional community, they have taught me, not the other way around. And I found that in this problem that I keep getting in every community I go to, is that people are feeling disconnected. They're feeling lonely, they're feeling isolated, they don't have access to the support that they need, even though out there, what do we have? Health services, don't we? We have our friends and family, of course, that's the stigma that they're coming up against. Then you've got even, majority of them have this online thing called Google, where they can search in what they're looking for, but they're getting overwhelmed. So in the years between the Make Poverty History concert and now, I started Collective Potential. It was a social enterprise to connect Australians to their purpose. But what I discovered in the 397 people I surveyed, it wasn't just me, Melbourne University got behind us and they did all that fancy coding and academic stuff that they do and came back and told me that what they could not believe in these events that we were running, these educational wellbeing events, was the levels of connection. And through that group consensus, through that social inclusion that continually available so they could come back, I created a social infrastructure almost, that they could come back and learn and get to know other people who were very similar to them and wanting to grow. But the problem we kept facing was what I noticed over and over and over again is a lot of people were traumatised by their life. Something that's not spoken about, and it's definitely not someone saying, you're allowed. So in these workshops, I was trauma-informed in everything that we did. From our promotion, I would get gigs as a consultant to talk to the young people that I was working with the government, and their promotional stuff was triggering the young people they were trying to work with. So here I am doing only what an advocate, activist could do, is smashing my head against a wall. Because what I'm finding is one of the most important things about the individual trauma I find in the individuals, their feedback about this need of feeling so excluded was an absolute desire to be heard. One girl said to me, I can't go to a health service because they don't get me. I'm Indigenous. I've been sexually abused for 10 years. The woman asked me if I want a stress ball. So she left and never came back. But she came back to my workshop. And what I keep finding time and time again from these people is our health service needs to change. It's a systemic issue that I'll spend a whole other presentation telling you about. But today, here's what I think needs to be addressed. The City of Melbourne needs to create more spaces, that is, education and events, that improve our social connection. It's essential. And in fact, mental health is nothing without this phrase. It is the catalyst, it's the change. It's what makes someone say, I'm okay, because you see me and I've told you and I'm traumatised, but so are you. But this collective change, I want to see that Melbourne becomes the most socially connected city in the world. But how the hell are we going to do this? Here's my big vision, and then I'm going to tell you about the prototype. I think we need a health and wellbeing festival. We've got Design Week, we've got Knowledge Week, but what about if we brought in some of the world's greatest health and innovation experts, or Oprah, either way. We ticketed the event. We bring in some of the, give workshop spaces where we're using venues around the city where we're running these workshops. Pretty simple, right? But then what really matters to me is that people like us, our organisation, go out and find the different social groups, and we work hard at making sure they are at this event and they are represented on stage. A brown woman, fluid in her sexuality, psychosocial abilities, that I'm represented on the stage, and that the people can see that with the presenters. Everyone loves TED Talks, but this is TED Talks meets Oprah in my mind. Okay, social connection. But what's really cool about this is I've worked with so many people, but you can reach way more online. So I would love to invite the City of Melbourne that as we do this and partner together, that the data sets, we really start to measure the disconnection levels before they turn up to the event and the connection levels after they leave. Now, how are we going to do this? Well, I think it's simple. I need to build a little prototype. Someone out there who's a geek with tech and I are going to be besties, and we're going to build what I'm calling the 10-10 prototype. So I've got 10 of my amazing speakers who have amazing tribes, who love to see their work, who during the time of COVID can't come into the city. One, they can't afford it to book a space. And they're going to bring their tribes in and we're going to test it out. And I'm going to give them a survey, an app in the interim, and we're going to start to record from the start of how they felt about their social connection, and at the end, how they feel about their social connection. But in between, I'm going to speak to all the data geeks out there of what does that mean? Melbourne University will come back in, or again, another academic university, to really break it down and look at the data around this, because I think collectively there's a trauma that Melbourne hasn't acknowledged. And do you know how you change trauma? A community must get behind you to recover. So the data is also being able to see the correlation between when we socially connect, what will that do for their own mental health, for their groups. So my last thing to wrap up with is, can we do this? Can we be the most socially connected, healthy city in the world? And can this model, events and education and the data, then be used in other councils and other cities around the world? And now we've got a competition. So thank you for listening.
All right. I think we had time for just one quick question. And we thank you so much.
So much. Brilliant presentation. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Trauma. I'm like, oh my God, am I shaking?
Well, my name is Kenny. I'm from 11 Space, and I'm really passionate about what you're trying to drive here. I love it. I love the idea and the solution that you're proposing. I'm just wondering, for someone who's also, has struggled with my mental health myself, one thing I understand is when you really need the help, you're usually very distant and doesn't want to people to help you. So is there any strategies in how you would actually draw people out?
Thank God you said that, because I left it out of the presentation. Skills are going to be an important part of it. In our user interviews, here's the blanket that summarised it for me. Oh, I've forgotten how to use my social skills or something during COVID. So what I would find that for healthcare to change, you have to co-design, and then you have to have a little bit peer-led, and then it has to be building capacity in a person. So a long answer and the short one is, we want to use the data to provide education and skills that empower you to change it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Maybe just to, on that point, I mean, like, if you're proposing for an event, while people don't want to go out into an event with all of these other people, is there a way for you, like maybe an alternative to also solve the problem apart from an event, I guess?
Again, just getting used to communicating it, but I believe our platform allows you to learn online social skills. So to me, when I went through trauma recently and the COVID enhanced it and triggered a lot, and a lot of people were feeling that. Initially, it was just me drinking or smoking, but really I acknowledged that that's what it was. And so I went online and used habit trackers. And then I started to realise that a lot of these weren't trauma-informed. They certainly weren't intersectional in the way that they were produced. So I think we need to create, from the data, platform that educates and provides a skill in your own home.
Thanks so
Does
much.
that answer it?
Yep, thank you.
So much. All right.
Thank you.
I have a clicker. Wait, I need a clicker. Oh, sorry, to change it. I don't know where you keep it. There you go. All right, thank you so much for that. We got the next speech. Bear in mind, we kind of running behind schedules, so please keep in the 5 minutes. All right. Ooh, we got now next Jack. Woo! There's Jack.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jack. I'm a student at RMIT University and one of the co-founders of Rook Digital. So earlier this year, my team and I came out of RMIT Activator Launch Hub. And during that time, we got to speak to a lot of local sustainable cosmetics businesses. And it was during this time that we met Sally. So I want to introduce you to a very lovely lady called Sally. She's very passionate about sustainability, organic deodorant, and reducing her packaging waste. And she makes these very, very cute little jars of organic deodorant. Now, Sally is, as I said, very passionate about reducing her packaging waste, and she's elected to sell her jars without boxes. However, this means she's had the trouble of fitting everything she wants to share with her customers on her labels. So I was talking to Sally about this, and we came up with the idea of a digital packaging app. So our digital packaging app has all the elements of traditional packaging and more, but in a digital form. So how this would work is anyone with our app can scan Sally's jar and read all about her ingredients, directions of use, her certifications, and her initiatives. Now, so what we want to do is test this product with a series of market stalls in Melbourne's laneways. So, for example here, we have Guildford Lane, one of my favourite laneways with one of my favourite cafes on it. And the other day I was speaking to the owner of this cafe about the impact that COVID has had on her business. And we found that, well, we thought that what if there's a way that we can reinvigorate the city, bring people back to the city to rediscover the laneway scene, but that at the same time rebuild our economy to be more circular and more sustainable. So we came up with the idea of hosting, imagine on this lane, a bunch of handmade cosmetic stalls selling their locally sourced sustainable products, completely packaging free, completely facilitated by our digital packaging app that lets people scan, engage with, and learn more about the products they're buying. At the same time, we're able to collect data about the way that consumers are engaging with their products, what they're looking for, and what's persuading them to buy more sustainable products. So running this, we believe we can bring people back into the city and at the same time make it more circular and more sustainable, and yeah, have an impact and rechange the way we shop with sustainable cosmetics. Thank you.
All right. Well done. Oh, you hit that one.
Oh, yeah.
Questions for the audience? We got one question in the back.
So these essentially pop-up retail opportunities down all sorts of different laneways in Melbourne, with specifically just cosmetics or other products as well that are sustainable?
So our app targets cosmetics at the moment, but we are completely open to any sustainable locally made goods across many different laneways throughout the city. The idea is bringing people to just rediscover our laneway scenes that Melbourne's so famous for, and then discover a new way of shopping without packaging.
Cool. Thank you. It's a great idea.
Bear with me. Oh, we might need a microphone. Oh, there you go.
Thank you. Hey, Jack. Good, nice presentation. There's a great collective impact to all of this beyond just a pop-up store. And have you thought about kind of the impact that you will have by removing that many boxes on so many different products, not just in Melbourne, but around the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously these pop-up stores across laneways in Melbourne City are really our testing ground to get the data and the feedback and the insight of to how people are engaging with their products and how we can remove as much packaging waste as possible from products. We aim to then take that into the broader retail market and retail stores, think big cosmetics giants, so that we can all have a massive impact on reducing boxes. So if you think on a national, even a global scale, applying this at scale, you can reduce hundreds of thousands, millions of boxes of going to packaging waste every year.
Thank you so much. All right. Now we have Heiko. I think this is online. Is it? Oh, Heiko. No, it's not here. Okay, we go to the next person. Eugene. All right. With a plus for Eugene, we're just going to set here the...
Can I just say, Heiko said earlier he wanted to do it in person instead of online.
Oh, we just had an order. Just happy to start with you. Just we had the slides organized. So please.
Yeah, I'm happy to go.
Yeah.
Shall I start? Or?
Are you going to share any slides, or are you going to just take?
No, I'm not using slides.
Perfect. All right. Whenever you want.
If you just want to make me the main screen, and then I can begin.
Yes. All right. We have you here with the big screen. All right. Thank you for that.
Are you able to make my screen the main screen?
Yes, I think.
It's not really necessary, but it'd just be easier.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Okay, so I'll start by introducing myself. My name's Eugene von Nagy. I'm a visual artist, and I grew up in Melbourne. I actually studied visual arts in the city of Melbourne. I used to run a gallery, and I currently run a window gallery in Northcote, and I hold a visual arts busking permit. Now, my problems and solutions here are actually multi-layered, so I have to kind of strip through the first couple of layers of problems and solutions to get to my actual presentation. But I'm doing my pitch from inside my studio in Northcote, so I'll just give you guys a little quick view around my studio, just for interest, since I don't have any slides. Okay, so what I want to start with, the first problem, of course, as we all know, is there's less activity in the CBD. We've got fewer people, and that means less economic activity, and we need to address that post-COVID. And the solution that, as I see that, is we need more entertainment and we need products in the streets of the city. This improves the mood of people that come to the city, and it keeps people around for longer so that they're more likely to spend money in the brick and mortar establishments as well. It makes them feel safer when there's activity going on in the streets, such as busking or even street vendors. And it makes them feel included in some kind of an event. So overall, it just improves their experience in the city, and they're more likely to hang around. Now, what does Melbourne have that is strong? We're strong in the arts. We traditionally, we had a strong busking scene, and we're also strong in food and coffee and those sort of things, and generally in culture. So I think we can use the arts and food in the streets, promoting that in the streets of Melbourne to address our main problem here. But this brings me to a more specific problem, which is less cash. Less people are using cash money, and there's less artists. There's less buskers working in the streets, and so a specific solution for that is to make it easier for buskers and street vendors to make money, and to attract more talent to the streets in the form of busking. Now, how do we do that? Well, we have to make it easier for people also, we want to make it easier for people to support street performers. We want to make it easier for people to trade with mobile vendors. Now, how do we do that? Well, a cashless payment option is the logical solution. Something that people can use quickly and easily, but also importantly, something that people have confidence in. Now, this brings me to my next layer of problems, which is that people must have trust in a payment system, and it must be quick and easy. And not only that, but it needs to be fit for purpose. So if you take the busking example, there's two main cashless payment systems, which are like a touch and pay, where you just put your card up to the machine, touch it, and it takes a fixed amount payment. The first one is Square, but with the Square system, which is very popular, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it, you have to actually stop to process individual payments. So it's not suitable for the busking environment. It's not suitable for most street vendors either. If they're selling something like a fixed price, take for hypothetically a hot dog cart, you know, and every hot dog's the same price. Okay, and then the next system is the Quest system, and Quest actually ran a trial system in the city. They have a quite good system that they do make available for buskers. They're mainly focused on charity, on raising charity donations. But there's problems with the Quest system. It involves onerous contracts. It's the most expensive system on the market. And also there's quite expensive exit fees. So it doesn't really suit the busker needs. And also for a new busker that wants to try it out, they're not, you know, they don't want to sign up to necessarily to a yearly contract with heavy exit fees. They don't know if they're going to make enough money to support the monthly fees for this system. So, and then the other problem is also that the Quest system needs other equipment. It needs a battery system. So it's up to the individual once they sign up with Quest, then they have to go and find a battery, and they have to find compatible leads and everything, and make sure this is all suitable and fit for the purpose. Okay, so the Quest system doesn't really work. The Square system doesn't work for buskers. We need a cashless payment system. Touch and pay is the best. QR codes, people might be thinking, well, what about QR codes? You know, I can tell you from running a gallery that when you're supporting the arts, it's an emotional decision. You have to act fast on it. If you have to muck around with QR codes and logging into websites and so forth, you're going to lose the impetus to actually make that donation a lot of the time. So really, the QR code system doesn't really work. You really need a touch and pay system that'll go off the chip of most cards. Okay, so my solution to all of this is actually in the form of a proposal to the City of Melbourne. I want to use existing technology and repurpose it, and basically get them to make a policy change. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here, we just need to grease the wheel that we already have. We're strong in the arts, we're strong in busking, we need to make it easy for buskers to work. So what I suggest is that Melbourne City Council could actually provide a complete mobile touch and pay system to artists and street vendors using existing technology. They could make it available when people apply for their busking permit or their street vendor permit. So they could also make this available on a loan system where the people pay for the use of that technology, the touch and pay system, and then return it when they're finished, when they've decided to retire from busking or whatever it is. Or they could pay it off in a percentage of their earnings, which would automatically be taken out. When someone touches and pays, they make a $5 donation, say, $1 goes back to the council to pay for the system until it's paid off. Or they could just have a simple time payment system. But either way, you could give the buskers, the artists, and also street vendors options to purchase this system, to get hold of it. And then the other most important part of this proposal is that then the City of Melbourne would advertise this system at the airport, on public transport, in Ubers or taxis, that sort of thing, promote the brand and build recognition of the brand and build trust in it. And I propose that we would call it MelPay, and it would have a logo that people would easily recognise. And therefore, when someone comes to the city, say hypothetical example, someone comes to the city via the airport, they hear about MelPay, they come into the CBD, they're getting a coffee or whatever, they're in the street, they see buskers, they see the MelPay logo, they recognise it, they trust it, and therefore they're more likely to support those artists. Whereas if, as it stands with the touch and pay systems, they're all different. People aren't necessarily going to recognise it when it's in the street, it's not connected to a venue. It's hard for people to trust that technology. So if we brand it, we promote that brand, everybody, all the buskers that apply for a permit have the option of using it, and I think they would use it if it was easily accessible and affordable for them to do so. I think that could solve the problem. And the other factor in all of this, of course, is now is the time to do this. Because, pardon me?
30 seconds.
30 okay, so now is the time. We have a need. We want to establish it before international visitors return. People are receptive to new technology now, and they're open to cashless payment systems. So we could implement this system. We could increase the number of buskers. I want to quickly just tell you totally the number of buskers. This problem is not isolated to COVID itself. It's been a problem with the reduction in the use of cash over several years. From 2018 to now, the total amount of buskers has gone through the floor. It's dropped down to less than a third of the amount of people applying for busking permits. Of those people, in 2018, about a third of them were international buskers, which we don't have anymore. They're all gone. And also out of the general busking permits, in 2018 there was 1,647 permits. 2019 it dropped down to 1,253, and in 2020 there was only 377. And as we know, most of them weren't even working anyway. The premium permits have gone down from 103 down to 99, down to 30 in the last year. So the problem with busking and the reduction in the use of cash is not just a problem with COVID. COVID has exaggerated this problem. It's made it a lot worse. But overall, we have less and less buskers working every year. Busking as an industry is dying in the City of Melbourne, and we need to bring in this cashless payment option, this touch and pay system, to rejuvenate it, and bring arts and culture back to the streets of Melbourne, so that people come to the city and they can have a better positive psychology, a better experience of visiting the city, and want to stay around longer, spend more money. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done. All right. So we have time for one question. Just give us a minute.
Yeah.
Any questions for the audience? Oh, we got one question.
Hi, Eugene.
Yeah.
Hi, Eugene. Nice presentation. It's Darren. Quick question. I really like the idea of bringing trust and transparency to busking, and I think it's a great way to attract people to do it. But with any startup, the big part of it is about scale. So given that the number's 30, in terms of the current number of buskers, how do we think we can scale your idea?
No, that's just the premium busking permits, which applies only to the City Mall and Southgate.
Okay. But my question still stands.
But the overall trend is dropping. but it's not 30. It's difficult to actually assess because of the lockdowns in Melbourne, most people stop busking altogether. So we really need to wait until we can get data from this year to see how busking is recovering. But we can see from the numbers that there's an overall trend year by year, a reduction in the amount of buskers. And I would say from my anecdotal experience that there's a reduction in the quality because there's a reduction in diversity as well. We've lost all the international buskers, for example.
Fantastic. And I think just to try and build on that, do you think there's an opportunity to move it beyond busking and into other areas?
Absolutely. So I'm glad you asked that because I left it out of my presentation. We could scale this system up. So we could start off with MelPay and then SydPay, BrisPay. Every city in the world could adopt a system similar to this to promote arts and culture in the streets. And also, as I mentioned earlier, food vendors and that sort of thing. Think of New York with the hot dog carts and stuff like that. We could have that kind of thing in Melbourne. Mobile baristas, for example. So we could definitely scale it up. But not only that, if MelPay was identified, if it built an amount of trust in the marketplace, there's no reason why it couldn't be incorporated into regular businesses as well. And Melbourne, the MelPay system could be seen in shops all over the world. Well, all over Melbourne anyway. Might call it
Thank you.
Something else
Great
in
answer.
London in the UK.
All right. Thank you so much, Eugene. Well done. All right. Thank you for that question. Now we got Gary. Wait, give me a second. Gary, you are online, right?
Yes, I am.
There we go. Wait. Bear with me, guys. A second. We had like 3 more pitches left, so almost finished. Are you sharing? No, you don't have slides, right? Gary?
Yes, I have. I sent you my slides.
Let me just get back to you. Let me just update that, and then we go to your pitch. Oh, yes. Can you share your screen? Gary?
Sorry?
Can you share your screen?
Share?
Yes.
Yes, I can share my screen.
Perfect. Let's do that way. So you have control. Let me just give you the permissions.
Can you see now?
We can see your desktop. Not the slides yet.
Let me do that again. So share screen. Can you see it now?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. So 2020, this is the year of panic. Last year, when I saw the supermarkets, in the supermarkets, people were trying to buy tons of toilet papers. It makes me smile because I came from the Philippines and Asians usually wash their bum. And I was curious and I was smiling why people have to buy toilet paper instead of meat or food. But in one sense, it signals to me that people are panicking. And that's the start of our serious and one of the most memorable and forgettable moments in our lives. And we had the 3 months of lockdown. And we have seen so many images that depicts, for example, the isolation and desperation that we have experienced when we are in our own homes. We cannot go out. We can only go out within 5 kilometers. And the pictures of the CBD with no people in it, it's usually teeming with people. So there's a picture that seems that the CBD is dead. Oh, sorry. Now, 2021 is the year of the new beginning, and hope springs eternal. So despite of what we experienced in 2020, in the resilience of people, especially in Melbourne, Australia, we saw signs of hope that somehow we were able to go through it, although in other parts of the world, it's still a very serious, the COVID pandemic is still a very serious situation. Now, one of the problems that we were given in this MKW Innovator Sprint is that there's a need to reinvigorate the city. So many cafe owners and business owners lost their livelihood, especially, of course, the employees who were terminated. And there's a need to bring back the consumers, the customers. And many of the presenters before, like Jasmine and Runa, even Eugene, has suggested so many ways of bringing back people. And I think there's a need for a collaborative platform where people can, especially customers, signify their preferences, what type of food, what event they want to go to. And cafe owners could probably offer their their foods and drinks and events in their own shops. Okay. And with the help of CBD Council is to probably provide the right infrastructure and management for the events so that people will be able to go back to the city safely and comfortably. And of course, the issue now here is who will own the collaborative platform so that there will be exciting dinner experience for Melbournians. So it's either the cafe owners can organize themselves and do this collaborative platform. It's either in a website or Facebook. The platform should be user-friendly, meaning to say even the older people like me, the private owners can easily use it. Okay.
60 seconds.
So among the features of the platform, the customers should be able to put their preference and feedback to the services and products offered. The cafe owners could be able to send out the promotions and offering. And of course, the CBD Council should be able to provide support. It should be easy to use, navigate, and be current. So for us to be able to make difference, we should be able to contribute and contact us. Okay. This is on behalf of the online gang. We were trying to discuss this in the online Zoom. And thank you very much for this opportunity to
All right.
contribute.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Any questions for the audience? Well done, Gary. Very engaged with the Zoom experience online, but yeah, thank you so much for sharing and well done.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, now we got Chloe. There you go. Welcome, Chloe. Is that on?
We all have a need.
Is that on? Oh, let me.
Hello?
3 seconds. Wait. The technical issues from digital. Hello, hello, hello.
Sorry. Maybe
Oh, that
battery.
one. Thank you. There you go. Perfect.
We all have a need for connection and a sense of purpose. And so as a social enterprise, we work with a wide network of change makers and thought leaders. And some of the challenges we were finding was finding a fit-for-purpose space for collaborative, engaging, authentic group work. So I set up a venue where we host all sorts of workshops, forums, seminars, panel sessions, collaborative strategic processes. So Curate Space has been operating, and as a venue which is designed to bring people together, we faced a pandemic. We've got the slides. Nope. Yep. I'll continue while you do that.
Thank you.
So I've got a background working in local government and in regional areas where quite often you're excluded from being able to participate in the cities. And I've also worked in statewide roles where I was the one in the ivory tower with the challenges of how to engage the regional areas and ensuring that everyone has got the opportunity to participate. So, as well as having people in the room, it was also about ensuring how we can design experiences, curate experiences that are co-curating with a whole broad range of stakeholders and communities to be either in the room, online or hybrid. So we were already doing this work before COVID came. So then that meant that this was actually the very last booking we had before the lockdown, and it was just imminent. We all knew it was about to happen. So it was the Department of Premier and Cabinet developing their final consultation with the youth sector for the new youth strategy for the state. And you can just imagine, the whole thing could fall over because it was particularly the regional areas that said, we're not coming to Melbourne, it's too risky. So the regional areas, and as we're still finding that now, are still reluctant to return to Melbourne. So within 24 hours, we were able to pivot that face-to-face consultation so that whether you were in the room or online, everyone could hear each other, see each other and interact. And the engagement process went on and it was all, and the outcomes were achieved. So how do we see this going into the future? So with COVID, we couldn't even really have people in the room. So I was thinking, what is beyond this period where we have to deliver events online and supporting online engagement? The future being hybrid and ensuring that there is that confidence that you can book a venue, you can organise an event, you can book tickets to attend an event. And as we've seen with Melbourne Knowledge Week, it is working. Because if something changes at the last minute, and we all see it, snap lockdown, that the show can go on, that you can seamlessly pivot. So I spent the whole of COVID looking at all of the technologies for online collaboration, engagement and learning, and how we can make sure that when we do return to the rooms as we are now, that the people who are online are not lost from the conversation. And so now we're back. We're doing it, and the people that are coming into the room, the teams that are coming into the room, they're meeting their staff for the first time. They're meeting their boss for the first time. And it's quite profound to be holding space for this really important work for these teams and communities to re-engage. So going forward, I was really looking at what are the different ways, like when can we be in the room? When do we have to be online? And when can we be a combination of the two? And there are complexities around that. And really, I did this work around really mapping what can we do, where and when and how. And then I mapped the whole landscape. What are the impacts on society? What are the impacts on the economy and employment? And what are the impacts on events and training?
60 seconds.
So we've had the disruption for venues and for events and training. And how do we re-engage and bring people back into the room while ensuring we're not losing the people that are now, there is no tyranny of distance. Or if they're a carer, they can still participate. We're not going to be going back to everyone being in the room. There is that resistance. PricewaterhouseCoopers have done the research. There will be hybrid working, hybrid learning. It is the future. But then there is all the unemployment that has happened. You've got all these people who are experts in their field and they've been made redundant. They're an expert. They used to be working in an organisation, but how can they package up their expertise and be able to share their wisdom? And there is that sense of purpose. So how do we actually give back? So I've mapped it here around how we can create a marketplace of these experts, these thought leaders, these change makers, and have this network who can actually, we can co-curate these community development programs, capacity building programs, digital innovation, sustainability. We can bring together all of these themes and curate programs of community engagement, training, collaboration, and really work together to make impact. And in doing this, it also means that we're creating work opportunities for these experts to get back in the game, while at the same time contributing to the broader community and reactivating these spaces. So it's not just about our one space, it's about all of these spaces and having a network of spaces, a network of experts, and a tribe of people who are passionate about stepping up and re-engaging and returning to this space and building our community. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you so much. Let's keep that one. Questions for the audience? We got time for one question. Very interesting, like we are moving towards the hybrid mode and we can leave it here, so.
There is a question from hello? Yes. Marty Louise online says, thanks for a passionate presentation. How do you see places with many experts, e.g. universities, contributing to your idea?
Oh, absolutely. It's all an ecosystem. And that was one of the things I was looking at with the intention of really mapping this out. So I've got a background in integrated planning and reporting. And quite often with the Sustainable Development Goals, people say, which goal are you working on? And I'm like, all of them. And they're like, you can't work on all of them. But my focus is really around Sustainable Development Goal number 17, partnerships for the goals. It's about how we're working together. We're about building the capacity of organisations and communities in their collective efforts toward these global challenges that we all face. And so that does involve the universities, it involves the private sector, it involves local government, it involves individuals who are passionate and have got ideas to share. For the experts, whether they're operating as an intrapreneur in an organisation or if they're newly independent and looking to find their new purpose in this new landscape going forward.
All right, thank you so much. Well done. All right, great, perfect. All right, Muhammad, there you go. Woo! There you go.
Hello, everyone. Is it right?
Yeah, it's working.
I know it's the last one, but please bear with me. And I'm happy I'm the last one because we heard about...
we got one more. Yeah. Don't worry, don't get the pressure off. We have one more pitch.
Yeah, it's all right.
After yours.
Yeah, we heard a lot the importance of the venue, events, and all of those kind of things in the CBD. So my presentation is about privately owned public spaces in the city, abbreviated as POPs. So I propose a wayfinding application toward more accessible and inclusive cities. As you listen to the other presenter, we have a lot of activity we can do in our city, but the question is where? We don't have that much public spaces, and if we have the fully public spaces like parks, they are not proper for most of the events, like those kind of meetings and those kind of things. And also those kind of privately owned public spaces can be a good place for such activities and the presence of public users. But the problem is those kind of privately owned public spaces underneath of the building or rooftop or hidden behind buildings are not visible. They are not inclusive and people cannot find them in the CBD. We have a lot of them based on the regulation in the CBD, created based on the partnership between private and public sector and City of Melbourne. But people cannot find them, or they perceive them as some places to pay, or people don't belong to those kind of places. My application tries to bring those kind of hidden and exclusive part of city on the map and introduce them to the public and to be used. There are a lot of information that would be useful for users, like different kind of facilities, services, like being weather controlled, having aircon, having services like light at night and operating hours. And also, if we put those kind of spaces on the map, we can improve the accessibility and visibility in the ground level of the city. And also, we can expect more inclusive city for our users, for children, for elderly, for people with disabilities. At the 3 years observation of in my PhD shows that those kind of places are not inclusive, and they are just for office workers or just for few types of users use them. And also in pandemic and post-pandemic area, which usually needs more public spaces, we can offer alternative public, privately owned public spaces for the user to feel safe to be in the community. And also we can distribute the people activity around the CBD. And also in terms of economic recovery, the application can bring a lot of people and users as a potential customer for adjacent businesses like hidden cafes under the buildings or lanesway. So it can bring a lot of potential customers for those kind of small business in the CBD, and can introduce them. They can be added as an advertisement, or they can add themselves as adjacent services to pubs. Here is my very brief diagrams that show how my pubs can connect different parts of the city, including the government as a main stakeholder and city council, the public people, and the owner and the businesses. As the recovery plan emphasized on transforming our space and building to the more inclusive and accessible public spaces, which can transfer those kind of private building to the more public spaces. We can make our city smarter. We can put them more information, and those information can be in the on the open data, and we can improve our privately owned public spaces in the city. Also, from the other side, it can contribute to the sustainable development goals, especially in equality of access and reaching to information. All people in the city have the right to understand there is a public space in the city, and they have the right to use the public spaces. But those kind of public spaces are not introduced to the people. And most of people don't perceive them as a public area. They perceive them as a gated community. They perceive them as a somewhere that it should pay. And also, in terms of impacts on the public and community, we can expect more.
30 seconds.
Yeah, all right. More inclusive and accessible and public spaces, and people can use those kind of space in a very defined ways, and they can understand what kind of activity are permitted or not, what kind of things that can do in those spaces. And also, all of these things can bring more people to hidden part of the city and have a significant economic impact on the small businesses and private owners. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done. All right. Any questions for the audience? We have time for one question. All right. I got it here. Oh, we got time for two of them.
I'll be really quick. It's a great presentation, and thank you. And I think it touches on some really important issues. I really like the prototype that you put together up front, or the example, but in there it had identifying people's needs in advance.
Yes.
So I'm assuming there's a lot of thoughtfulness that goes into the technology there, and being able to design preferences and then be even more specific for what they need. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I try to have a lot of interviews with the both customers, which are private businesses and those kind of adjacent services, and users who want to use a free application for finding free places to do their activity. And based on my interviews, I found that I did a 3 years observation of pubs in Melbourne, part of my PhD. So those kind of preferences are based on my data and my direct observations, and they can be extended based on the during the development of application, I think. And most important part is data that I found that it's being weather protected. And having enough lights, and being safe in terms of safe environment and to stay. These three are the most important services or expectation from pubs that I found in my research.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. So we have one more question.
Thank you very much. My question is very simple, actually. Excuse my ignorance. Do you need here in Melbourne any license to use a private space to hire to someone to make a party, for example? Like you mentioned, for example, this is for someone who has an open roof. Yeah. It's a nice space for me to make my birthday party there, let's say. Okay. Do you need a license for that? Because this might cause disturbance to neighbors or whatever?
Yes, the privately owned public spaces initially are managed by the owners, so we should get the permission. But in terms of law and regulation, because they, for example, the developer built a higher tower, they should contribute some part of the ground level to the public. So based on the regulation, the people can do their activity aligned with the managers' standards and the owners' standards and rules. I think, yeah, we should have a permission from the building owner and manager. But for the small activity and gathering, based on my experience in the CBD, there are a lot of potential for group gathering, gaming, and managers are happy to host those kind of activity because they bring more user and it means bring more financial benefit and potential customers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done. Thank you. All right. So we got the last speech of the day. All right. There you go. Welcome. There you go. The lion.
Oh, okay. First ever speech, but basically, Australia is actually proven to be one of the least bold nations in the planet. If you look at the Economic Complexity Index online, a study by Harvard, it shows that Australia ranks really poorly. So I'd like to congratulate everyone here for standing up, firstly. But I'm actually here to talk about our national cuisine. So I formed Australian cuisine. It started as an idea about 5 years ago after travelling a lot through Europe, and I'm a chef. Basically, I felt like I've never been able to cook Australian food. I feel that, yeah, we just basically say anything is Australian. And through my research, I've studied cuisines. Basically, I found that that's not the case, that we do have an Australian cuisine. So to explain what a cuisine is, to start with, it's a collection of food and beverage inventions or adaptations made by that particular country. And from there, I'm about a month away from releasing my first book. And I'll be able to show that we have a national cuisine. And I've done it through the 7 major timelines of our history. So Indigenous, colonial, Gold Rush, Federation, the World Wars, pre-modern and modern. How does this apply to Melbourne is a great question. Well, I've grown up in Melbourne. I've never been to the Queen Vic Market and celebrated being Australian in a food sense. So I'd like to work with the City of Melbourne to hold the first ever Australian cuisine expedition, I guess. I also need support to work on my next book, which is probably actually more important than defining our cuisine, and it's how to create a cuisine. So we need to build our cuisine to be world class to take on the French one day. But I'm also cheekily asking for $1 billion in funding sounds crazy, but basically if we look at a country like France, or the top tourist destinations in the world, they all have something generally in common. They have a very strong national cuisine. Australia's never invested anything in our national cuisine. They don't even, yeah. And basically our tourist economy is only 3% of GDP, which is $60 billion. France is 10% and Spain is 16%. So we could potentially, with a strong national cuisine, could contribute to another $200 billion a year in growth. So my idea is that somewhere in Australia we'll get the Australian Cuisine National Centre. So it'd be like a massive culinary centre where we continue to research, but we also promote all the cuisine that we have in one place in Australia, and we grow every ingredient we have, which will be massive because it's about 5,000 native ingredients. Yeah, so that's a terrible speech, but thank you.
Well done. Any questions? But thank you so much for sharing. That was a great pitch, and yeah, we love some Australian cuisine. So thank you so much. Oh, you got one question? Yes.
Well done, Liam. That's really good, and I think actually from an innovation, it's something different. It wasn't so much a comment; it was just a point that Bendigo has invested in that, like through UNESCO and the City of Gastronomy, and they're looking at how they can not the same idea as you, but actually build a cultural aspect into this. So if you haven't spoken to anyone there, I'm happy to connect you with someone who can maybe have a conversation and help you raise the tide a little bit and look at things a bit differently.
Thanks. That sounds exciting. The vision is, well, I was previously actually married to a French woman, but in France you can travel to any town, any area, and you can have a beautiful regional cuisine. It's very hard to do here in Australia. I travel right throughout Australia. You can't actually name a dish that comes from that region. So yeah, I find our food culture is actually quite boring in that sense. Yeah,
I agree.
That's a great connection. Yeah, thank you so much. Jasmine has a question. Of course, let me go to you.
I'm just wondering if you've considered maybe not the idea of creating new foods and stuff, but kind of amplifying the Indigenous heritage that we actually have already. Because a large part of colonisation is that rich history would have been forgotten. I don't know. I'm not sure what my question is. I think it's more, have you considered that aspect of it?
Absolutely. So I worked with Indigenous cook called Auntie Beryl von Opolo. She's from Sydney, and she's helped enormously with the book, and I feel very privileged that we've been able to get an Indigenous recipe into every timeline of the book. So we actually reflect their whole history, not just before colonisation. And you're going to see some very interesting recipes in there. So Indigenous people are the first bread makers in the world. So we've got the world's first bread in there. It predates the Egyptians by 15,000 years, but also spoke to researchers in the Northern Territory at the moment. So we're just waiting back there, but you know, probably going to beat it by 60,000 years, something ridiculous. The world's first alcohols. So I've got our alcohol in there that you can make from Banksia. It's called Manganich. It's from Western Australia. Yeah, so there's some very exciting things in the eras besides Indigenous. So I've always tried to give it the Indigenous name where I can through the research. Unfortunately, Indigenous Australians how do I say this? Well, anyone for general, when you talk about cuisine, it's been very hard to break through, to understand and to support it, basically. Yeah. Yeah,
right.
Sorry. I'm wafting on.
Thank you so much. All right, well done, everyone. Thank you. All right. All right, we got to the last, that was the last speech, but we want to give you a huge thank you to everyone in the TVs, online, the computers, and everyone here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the ones that were involved in the whole program, for pitching the ideas. It's been a great time. We got the RMIT activator people, we got the City of Melbourne here, we got the Melbourne Knowledge Week, we got all the mentors. Also online, we got our amazing representative from RMIT University, Marty Lewis. So thank you so much for being here with us. And yes, let's bring this knowledge, let's make these ideas to happen. And that's what is next, is make this thing happen. So thank you so much. A big applause for everyone. Thank you.
And a big shout out to Juan as well for leading this whole process.
You got amazing team, so thank you so much. And see you next time. All right, see you. Thank you.